All right, so we just got done watching Alien Romulus, a movie that takes place 20 years after the original, but at this point they're bouncing around quite a bit.
Great work, man. Fede Alvarez, he directed Don't Breathe. He directed the Evil Dead remake, which was all right. I mean, we're big Evil Dead fans.
Original
Yeah,
Evil
yeah.
Dead.
OGs. He did a great job with Alien Romulus.
I did not know he made Don't Breathe.
Yeah.
I actually love that movie.
Part one and part two. I haven't even seen part two
I
yet.
haven't seen part two, so
Yeah.
that's I guess we're gonna have to
We're gonna have to do that.
put that one on
Yeah.
the list, the top four.
Oh man. Ooh, Alien 1 and 2 is like neck and neck, but
Those are locked in for me in
yeah.
order.
In order?
Yeah, Alien 1 and original.
Oh man. I have to agree. Man, I like 3 too. I know a lot of people don't like 3, but it was so dark. And when I first saw it, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't like it. I didn't like part 3 when I first saw it, but the more I watch it, I really like part 3 also. They didn't, the guys in the prison and but this one has part 3 beat. So yeah, I have to say 1, 2, Romulus, and then part 3 for me.
Wow, that part 3.
I like
Yeah,
that.
I actually wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
So for me, it's 1, 2, Alien Covenant, and this one, Romulus. Part 3 really captured you then.
I did. I mean, it was so dark. It was just, yeah. And then
It was messed up.
Yeah, the end, Sigourney Weaver's bow out gracefully. I still hear the music in my head at the end of the movie. $80 million budget. It's all on the screen,
Really?
Yeah.
Borderlands had $100 million.
Overinflated actors, too much money. That's probably what happened. That's why their budget was. But see, this cast was, actors who've done part. They're not names, but they're up and comers. They all did great jobs.
Some of the shots that they put in this movie,
Man,
I really appreciate.
Wow. Felt like there were some shots where when they were in space, you felt like you were in space. You felt like when there was no gravity, the camera would float with you, and it would, in certain thing, and it was crazy.
I actually got motion sickness at one point.
Really?
I actually got a little sick.
Wow.
That's never happened before.
Wow.
I'm not even exaggerating. And the actors, being that these are people I've never seen before, at least don't recognize, that helps with the immersion as well.
If you're an Aliens fan, the world building, I mean, for the first time, you got to see a little more about not just inside of a spaceship, you got to see other things that you never got to see before. And then the consistency with the technology in part 1. And it was just very, very well done. I love Star Wars, but the prequel, some of the technology, I'm like, wait a minute, it's like way more advanced than Star Wars. They didn't do that in this movie. They kept the technology consistent with the actual original Alien. So I really liked that.
Not many dumb decisions were made. Not hardly any. There was one decision I was like, oh, come on. But then you understand why it happened shortly after.
And there was a lot of things they didn't, they were walking into a situation that they had no idea what they were walking into until it was too late. And I don't want to spoil anything. The trailer was amazing. I mean, the trailer, we were watching a movie and the trailer came on and I said, Chris, we're going to go see that. It lived up to the trailer. The story was really well done. And a lot of people are going to say, well, it was kind of slow at the beginning, slow, but that was one of my favorite parts, building up to how they got into the situation that they're in and the world building, the character arcs. I really enjoyed the beginning. It didn't bother me at all getting to where it was going. And there are some characters who really stood out. I mean, really, really stood out for me in this. And they should do well after this film. It seemed like Deadpool and Wolverine took all the money out of everyone's pockets. And there was really no one in the theater, less than 10 people in there. So if you watching this review and if you like any of the Alien movies, go see this movie.
Yeah, it's the traditional Alien slow burn in the beginning. Like if you can withstand the pacing of part 1 and 2, this carries out the same thing. And you can kind of tell with the directors, they were huge fans of the original 2 from what they created with this one. Definitely give this a theatrical view, support the horror movies.
Yeah, it's interesting that you said horror movie because this was shot like a horror movie. I mean, it had the feel of a horror movie. There, some of the Aliens films weren't. What's the one with Winona Ryder and Sigourney Weaver? That I enjoy that Alien film, but it wasn't. It it didn't have the feeling of the horror wasn't there. But in this one, the horror was there. It was done like a graphic novel. Like you could,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like actual comic book that someone said, well, what if this happened during this time period? And no big name actors, and it's just a story, and we got to watch it play out. Like it was like a graphic novel put on screen. If you're a true fan, you'll appreciate this film.
There's like some graphic novel style situations where you were thinking, how the hell are they going to get out of this one?
Yeah.
I feel like for some of you people, it's going to be some traumatizing imagery in this one.
Yeah.
Unless you're like me and grew up to Faces of Death and stuff like that, and you've been just insensitive, desensitized to everything. There's some stuff in here that's going to get to you a little bit.
Hey, don't blame that Faces to Death on me. That was Lauren. I didn't do that. I didn't do that.
Wherever that VHS tape, wherever that belonged to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you rate it?
Oof. I haven't even thought about this. We had just came from the movies, and
Yeah.
we just sat down and started recording. So this is number 4 on my list. I would give Alien 1 and 2 3 cups of coffee.
Out of 5 cups?
Are we doing 5 cups?
I don't know.
I thought we were doing 3.
Oh, yeah, 3 and
Z's,
3.
and then, yeah.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Alien Covenant would... I would get an Alien Covenant and Alien Romulus 2 cups. For me, that's up there.
Yeah, I have to say Alien 1 and 2 Aliens, definitely 3 cups of coffee. Man, this one I would have to say 2, only because of the slow burn at the beginning. But as a fan, I want to give it a 2.5. I mean, it was really well done. But I'm gonna go ahead and say 2 cups along with Chris here. I agree. Alien Covenant's good too. That's really good. It's right there. And 3.
I almost got some Evil Dead vibes from some of the sound design in this movie, which was interesting coming from an alien.
There was even some Don't Breathe stuff going on. Like there was some silent scenes where it got real quiet.
Yeah, this guy works with sound quite a bit.
Yeah, which is important. Sound is underrated because sound, it tells a story. Also, if you're a filmmaker, you know that you can use sound or lack of sound to tell a story. It's a tool that you can use, and he used it well.
Yeah, this director is on point with sound design. Now we're gonna go into spoiler territory. If you don't want to hear any of that, click off the video now. Don't forget to subscribe. Spoiler territory. There's one particular scene that I thought was pretty awesome. Got a whole cup of coffee alone from that because I'm just thinking, how did this guy come up with this? So there's a moment when Kaylee Spaney has the gun and she puts on zero gravity in a room and she's being charged full of aliens. As she's killing them, the acid is just like flowing through the room. If the acid touches the ship, the ship is going to put a hole through it. Hence, you're going to, what do they call it?
Die?
There's a particular word. There's a particular word that
disintegrate, melt.
It does something to the ship when the ship is.
You put a hole in the hole. You're gonna.
We're just gonna say put a hole through the ship, and you're just going through space. It just sucks everything out, and all the acid was just flowing, like just synchronized in a zero gravity, and she had to kind of float her way through. That was pretty intense, and I feel like that was probably going to be one of the more underrated scenes of the movie.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting because I was thinking about that scene also. The actor that played this synthetic, David Johnson, man, he killed it. He had to play like a synthetic that was kind of loopy, that didn't have all his wires crossed, and then all of a sudden he got a little upgrade from remember part 1, Alien? The synthetic that lost it. Well, when they went on the ship, he was in there, like his body all jacked up. Well, they took his stuff out in order to kind of be able to do more inside of the ship, Romulus. They put it into the David Johnson's neck, the synthetic, and he ended up adopting the mission from the guy from part 1, which I thought was really cool. Going from this little scared kid acting synthetic to this in charge, in demand synthetic. It was really interesting to watch him do that.
It was.
Yeah.
It was, because I thought that when I saw him in the beginning, I was like, what are they're going to kill this dude. He's dead.
Yeah.
But then,
Well, you said that because he was black. That's why you said.
well, the black and the way he was acting,
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, he's
he's a
he's got
synthetic.
some mental.
Yeah,
Before we knew he was even synthetic.
you like
Did you
he's
know?
dead. No, I didn't.
Yeah. So there's a part like in the beginning, you don't. He looks human, but he has mental issues or something. Something is going on.
Yeah.
Last thing I was thinking was synthetic. He gets jumped, and she rewires him because he's like malfunctioning, and you're like, oh, okay, he's a synthetic, but still, why is he acting this way? He was broken,
Yeah.
in a sense. For him as an actual actor to go from that to being upgraded through the synthetic from part one's chip, they like gave him that chip. His whole demeanor just changed. He was a whole different person, walking different, talking different,
Yeah.
way bigger vocabulary. And
Yeah.
yeah, that was pretty impressive to witness. Definitely best performing synthetic actor in any Alien film.
Even better than David, like from Prometheus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was great.
Yeah, he's just a great actor. Michael Fassbender, I think his name is. This young man, he killed it. You know, there's just so much we could say about this film, even in spoiler territory. But it just, we want you to see it. One thing I'll say, also pros, like the acting was just, like I said, was good. The cinematography was good. The story was done really well. The third act was nuts. They were making decisions. They didn't know the consequences. As an audience member, you saw, I was like, no, don't do that. But you know, when they're in that situation, they didn't know what we knew because we've seen all the other films.
Yeah.
You got to give them a pass on, you know, the actual characters and what they were doing. And I thought it was good to be able to see stuff that I wasn't able to see before, like the actual world building. Kind of like, remember, I don't know if you guys saw Aliens, the uncut version, where when Ripley came back and they got her, and then you got to see kind of the upgrades of what was going on before they sent her back out to space. You know, it was cool to see 57 years later. You know, her daughter had passed away already, and she still looked the same, but the actual world that she was in had changed. The third act, the action was great, but there's another one of those monsters, man, or whatever. One of those. It's not a xenomorph. It's something else that they throw in there, and I just didn't like the way it looked.
We're in spoiler territory. So
Yeah,
we
we're
can
in
say.
spoiler. What the heck was that, man?
Humanoid. So the woman that produced this thing was all jacked up. She was already pregnant, and then she got impregnated by an alien. She got captured, and they found her hung up. Normally, when that happens,
I don't know, man. They said
put a
she
seed in.
wasn't. They said she wasn't.
So if she wasn't, they
That
just saved
stuff
her.
she injected got into her baby. It was alien DNA.
And that's how it ties in from Prometheus, because the very beginning of that movie, the guy starts life by sacrificing himself with that black stuff.
Yeah.
So these guys had this stuff in the lab and testing it on rats and all kinds of other things. So they wasn't even sure what this thing was going to do. And that is one thing we didn't know as an audience. We didn't know what that would do to a human because we never seen that done to a human. So she injects it because she's in critical condition, injects it herself, and her baby ends up becoming a hybrid xeno-humanoid. And I will say, I mean, that traumatized. I talked to some guys at the parking lot. They said that part messed them up. The first shot that you see this thing in is crazy, and it's a dope camera angle and everything. But then it stands up, and it just looks it looks like any other. I'm sorry, I might spoil some movies, but if you haven't seen them by now, you should have seen these movies. It looks like the same humanoid in Grave Encounters 2, the same humanoid in Barbarian, the same humanoid in Smile. It's just, it looks the same. But so if I have to say, this is the best version that I've seen. Puts everything together. If you look at the eyes, it looks like the same eyes the engineers had, just plain black eyes. And it was evolving like in minutes. It was a full grown specimen within like 3 minutes from a baby. And so who knows what it would look like in a year. Maybe it would have looked like an engineer.
The first person who got impregnated by the face hugger, the alien didn't bust out of her chest. He kind of just leaked out. It was like her chest opened and he just laid out like, He was just like, hey, yeah, I'm just gonna rest here for a minute. No, normally them things, because looked like it was gonna bust out. It was hitting her chest like this, and then it went, and it just kind of rolled over. And that was my first time seeing it not like really just whoosh and just take off. You know what I mean? Most of those things, the aliens, the xenomorphs, when they bust out, they really bust out. This thing just kind of leaked out. He just kind of stayed. It was like he was just trying to get air. He was just like, and he laid there for a
He
second.
looked a little exhausted.
Yeah. I mean, that's nitpicking. You know what I mean? And they had some new things where it's funny. It was cool. This is probably a actual pro more than a con, where they changed the room temperature to where the crawlers like couldn't see them, the face huggers couldn't see them. They changed the whole room temperature to body temperature. The only way they could sense you is if you were like sweating or getting anxious or nervous. They could sense the change on your body, the vibration or whatever.
A con that turned into a pro.
Yeah. Well, was that a con?
Like you said it was a con, but then you thought about it. You was like,
No, we're in con territory, and I'm just like, that was actually a pro. That was.
So that goes to show you that this movie is, it's really good. As we continue to talk about it, we're like, okay, there was this, there was that.
Yeah.
It's really good. I have a theory as to why the thing busted out of her chest the way it did. And even like her chest wasn't even like fully
Open.
open. Yeah, it was kind of just like kind of tackled its way out. I think it's because the crawler didn't go into full production. It was interrupted.
Ah.
So therefore it wasn't a full,
Interesting.
like maybe it didn't get all the protein it needed.
Yeah.
You know?
No, that makes sense. Yeah.
I feel like this particular director, I give him the benefit of doubt. I feel like this guy thought about everything because he seems like a super fan himself.
That makes sense. Didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good pickup. I feel like that's probably exactly why. What happened was they were able to get the face hugger off of her, the girl who first got attacked early, and they kind of froze his back or something, and they were able to pull it off, and he had already impregnated, but I guess it takes more time to hibernate or whatever it does. It's to fertilize the egg, so the egg wasn't, or whatever, the seed wasn't fully fertilized for the xenomorph to come out. So I guess, like Chris was saying, that's why it didn't really bust out and take off. It was still probably early for it because it was still developing. I didn't think about that. They did a good job, man.
Yeah, no, they did a good job.
Go see this movie.
Yeah, this movie deserves way more support than what we saw in the theaters tonight. I'm actually a little worried. I hope they make their money back because this is actually a very solid movie.
Yeah.
And just the love and care that they put into it, it's very deserving of a big box office.
Yeah.
We went pretty late. Hopefully that was the reason, but
Yeah.
we went late to a Deadpool Wolverine and it was stacked. So, I don't know. It's just, both of them are rated R, so that's not an excuse.
No.
But no, you guys need to go watch this ASAP.
Yeah.
The fact that you said that this is going on Hulu is crazy to me. I did not know that.
It was supposed to go straight to Hulu. I guess it did so well. I guess when the,
Pre-screenings or something?
well, yeah, the execs, they sit around, they watch the movie, and they're like, man, we're putting this in the theater. I mean, it was done.
Man,
So, I mean, 80 million to go to Hulu. Nothing against you, Hulu, but
No, it's not Hulu. It's the people's TV and lack of surround sound. Like, people don't have the screens
yeah,
for this movie
yeah,
to get the full effect. That's why I'm saying go see it in the movies to get the full effect if you want to appreciate this movie.
like and subscribe to our channel. We ain't going nowhere. Real Bros out.